I settled into a small cabin and spent time reflecting on my previous 12 months, my initial life list, my life. And I realized I had been on my own kind of walkabout. According to Crocodile Dundee, a walkabout is just a spontaneous journey through the wilderness of one's choosing, in an effort to satisfy one's itchy feet, the need to be elsewhere, the craving for the open road. I just saw 3 bears right over there, right across the water from me. So I'm breaking the silence. Last night was rough. I want to go home. Sorry to go home. I felt like this is a big waste of time. This was the ideal space to reflect on where I'd come from the last 11 months on my quest to get my laugh back. While January was the pursuit of beauty, February was the pursuit of truth. Not just truth in general or absolute truth or universal truth, but truth about me. This is my story. This could also be your story. At the end of my 42nd year, I found myself at a loss personally and vocationally. I had reached my career goals of becoming a therapist and college professor while completing my PhD, but after a series of curious events following my father's death a couple of years prior, I lost my way and my laugh, and I wanted to find a way to get them back. And so I developed a project called 12 Months to Live. I simply asked myself, what would I do if I had 12 months to live, as a way of framing a happiness experiment to get my laugh back while clarifying my calling. I drafted a life list inspired by the quote, "Don't ask yourself what the world needs, ask yourself what makes you come alive and go do that, because what the world needs are men and women who have come alive." I wrote down all the passions, goals, and wishes that made me come alive and that could help me figure out my next steps in life. Although finding my life's calling was important, it wasn't the main filter through which I prioritized my list. At least during the 12-month project, I wanted my choices to be motivated primarily by what brought me more meaning, purpose, and joy, and secondarily, where it all might lead vocationally. As I brainstormed, there were a few themes, or what I called intentions, that I felt need to be a part of my entire project. I wanted to wander the world, to write and record my journey, and to live in awe again. My first intention was to wander. I knew I wanted to circumnavigate the globe on one continuous trip. I had traveled quite a bit, but the thought of circling the world captured my imagination. I found great joy in adventure, and so life on the open road in the great outdoors would have to be woven into my travels. My second intention was to write and record. I had taken documentary film and creative writing classes, but I wanted to see if I could make a living in these fields. And so, I carried my new HD camera with me everywhere to capture crucial conversations and experiences on my journey. Intention number 3, awe and wonder. Above all, I wanted to grow in my appreciation for life and the good in it, to get my laugh back, regardless of my circumstances. This would involve following the breadcrumbs in life, which meant cultivating an openness to the messages in everyday events. Breadcrumbs could be quotes that caught my attention, movies, or the stories of people who crossed my path, like the group of guys I met with weekly for what we called Dudes Night. Every Friday, we'd get together for a meal around a fire at a friend's house. One of the guys would bring a question each week for the group to respond to. It was my turn, and so I started with an update on my intentions. So that's been a good 5-6 months for the most part, just kind of looking at those intentions and being happier with a lot of stuff. And, until a couple weeks ago, I just had kind of a dark turn. And then, and it actually came to a head. It got really bad after last Thursday. Stress was just overwhelming, and I could physically feel the pressure building up in my chest. But then over the weekend, I started to remember my intentions and
those 3.
The 3 intentions that I talked about, just the mentality of the year that I wanted to adopt, of appreciating life. And so I stopped focusing on what I didn't have and started to think about, okay, the last few weeks, what have I missed because I've been so focused on these things that I don't have? I started to think back on maybe the messages that life was trying to tell me or share with me. And so I thought, I want to just record. So the last couple of days I've been kind of retracing some steps and recording conversations with people. And my friend's daughter, Sandy, said she had, when she was younger, she had to learn how to laugh. She didn't know how to laugh. And she would try on other people's laughs, like how they laughed. She would kind of practice with their laughter, but it wasn't her laugh. And at some point she had to find her own laugh. Like finding your voice, like she didn't know, so I recorded a conversation with her.
I don't know, John and Mom would be laughing, and I would just think of their laughs and copy theirs.
Can you give us some examples?
Actually, I can't do it anymore. I can't.
As I started my practice of following the breadcrumbs on my quest for joy, I narrowed my life list and began my 12 Months to Live project. I started local, branched to national, and then went global, finishing my year with a 3-month backpacking tour of Europe, Asia, and Australia.